All right, folks, we've got a quick update from none other than Steve Rao there in DC. He's got a DC report that he's going to give us, and I've got a quick question to ask him as well. But let's see what's going on in DC with none other than Steve Rao reporting live from DC.
This is Steve Rao, the Washington, D.C. correspondent of Pod and Roku TV. Welcome, everybody, this evening. I'm in the nation's capital, right in front of the United States Congress, where I just met very briefly United States Congresswoman Deborah Ross, who represents much of the Research Triangle Park, along with Valerie Fouché. And Mark, I guess what I will tell you is that they're back in session. A lot of talk about the big, beautiful bill, the $5 trillion that's going to add to our deficit, the fact that it's going to hurt Medicaid and healthcare. And there's a lot of Democrats concerned about the Trump tax cuts will be continued, which is really going to be helping more of the wealthier individuals. We're also a lot of talk about Doge. It turns out that 175 billion was all they could save, but thousands and thousands of workers have been fired or furloughed. We're seeing these effects in North Carolina. I'm even hearing rumors about green technology company grants gone, and even some of the companies that Governor Cooper brought in, like Forge Nano and Forge Battery, those deals may be going out because of the lack of funding. A lot of talk about foreign policy, Ukraine, what's going to happen there. A total disruption. And as you go to cocktail parties, people are talking about the imperial Trump presidency. No president since Franklin Delano Roosevelt has made these kinds of changes. Whether it was putting in Japanese in internment camps or doing the social programs that Roosevelt put in. Trump has come in all in. And yesterday night, what we talked about, we talked.
Hopefully, Steve will come back in. He was over there giving a great report and everything like that. Apparently, the winds and other things might have broken it up and all along those lines, but we'll see if he can come back in and give some reports as to what's going on there in DC with Doge and all along those lines. Yeah, but we had some sort of interference, but hopefully he's going to come back in and we'll get some more report from what's going on there in his area there in DC and along those lines. But it was definitely a great report that he was giving us, and hopefully we can hear more about this report from Steve's situation. Hopefully he's getting the phone going and all along those lines. I was actually just talking to Toby, and apparently the Office of Personnel Management last week quietly published a memorandum authored by Vince Haley, the White House head of domestic policy. It was addressed to the head or acting heads of every agency across the entire executive branch. So they're talking about, according to the White House directive, a copy of which was reviewed by several publications, anyone applying for a civil service position at an entry level or above, including such jobs as nurses, janitors, economists, and lawyers, among others, must respond to a series of essay questions before they can even be considered for an interview. The merit hiring plan lays out in detail how to implement a January executive order signed by Trump to prioritize recruitment of individuals committed to improving the efficiency of the federal government, passionate about the ideals of our American republic, and committed to upholding the rules of law and the United States Constitution. So the plan also seeks to prevent anyone who is unwilling to defend the Constitution or to faithfully serve the executive branch from being employed in the civil service. One question asked applicants about their commitment to the Constitution and the founding principles of the United States, while another question asked applicants to state how they would help advance the president's executive orders and policy priorities, and to identify one or two relevant executive orders or policy initiatives that they find significant to them. They must also explain how they'd help implement these orders or initiatives. If applicants write answers that are satisfactory enough to land them an interview, the memorandum also states that they must participate in an executive interview with a political appointee from agency leadership who will evaluate their organizational fit and commitment to American ideals. So definitely looks like there's going to be some interesting questions that might be asked of folks and all along those lines. So it'll be interesting how this all goes and in that space. So definitely we're still waiting to hear from Steve, and hopefully Steve can get back online and share some more of what is going on in his neck of the woods. It was definitely interesting that he had met with Fouché. I actually had seen Fouché at the Anita Earls event this past weekend, and all along those lines, because she was launching her re-election campaign at the Hayti Heritage Center, which, as y'all know, is a cultural center that I work at, and all along those lines. So definitely it'll be interesting to see what goes on in that space. The other article that the Independent says was the new hiring guidelines are the only way Trump and his allies are upending the nonpartisan system that was set up to govern federal hiring in the wake of President James Garfield's 1881 assassination by a disgruntled office seeker. Shortly after he returned to power in January, Trump signed an executive order that ordered agencies to reclassify career employees who work on policy matters into a new schedule that strips them of nearly all civil service protection. So that's something else that people are talking about. And the directive largely re-implements an October 2020 order Trump signed to establish what was then called Schedule F, and was said to be compromised of any federal worker in confidential policy determining, policy making, or policy advocating positions. That broad category includes most of the government's nonpartisan experts, such as scientists, doctors, lawyers, and economists, whose work to advise and inform policymakers is supposed to be done in a way that is fact-driven and devoid of politics. Combined with more than 100,000 open positions created by the massive number of firings and resignations across the entire executive branch during Trump's first few months back in power, these new policies could allow the administration to recruit an equal number of MAGA devotees who would eventually acquire protection from removal by future administrations, is what the Independent is saying in their article about this. And Max Stier, president of the nonprofit Partnership for Public Services, told Axios on Monday that it looks like the administration is emptying the shelves of the existing nonpartisan expert civil servants and restocking those same shelves with loyalists. So we've definitely heard people talking about this loyalist kind of campaign and all along those lines. And apparently the White House did not immediately respond to a request for comments from the Independent publication. So it'll be interesting to see what folks have to say about this and other things as well. I'm going to see if Steve is still around or if he's able to be heard, because I know he was having some technical issues there in D.C. and all along those lines. But we did just want to give a quick news brief as to him being there in the D.C. area and all along those lines. Definitely. There you go. Steve's back. So, Steve, how's it going?
Hey, I'm here.
Yep, go for it. Yeah, you were talking about the...
Are you there, Mark?
I am here. I am here. Yes.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Go ahead. Can you hear me now? No. Yeah, Steve is gone. So Steve might have disappeared. We'll see if he can come back and all along those lines, because definitely it was interesting to hear his report from D.C. and along those D.C. lines and what's happening in D.C. since that's where he's at. He was giving us a D.C. report. So we got the D.C. report from Steve Rao, and we're going to see if Steve is back and giving us more of the D.C. report.
Sorry, guys. I still have a job. That was my boss. I didn't mean to do that. He pays the bills, so I'm sorry for that. But real quickly, a lot of talk, as I followed up real quickly, I mean, a lot of talk about Doge and Trumponomics, tariffs. You know, and just in terms of yesterday, I attended the U.S.-India Forum at the invitation of John Chambers and the CEO of IBM. And that was an amazing, we heard from Usha Vance, the first Indian-American second lady of the United States. It was amazing. And but what was interesting was the Howard Lutnick spoke, the Secretary of Commerce, and he actually believes that tariffs is great, that it's going to open up new markets. He went off on India in front of that Indian American audience, saying that India has very high tariffs on American goods, but I just don't see the economics of it working. Typically, tariffs don't bring in that kind of revenue to offset the economic losses. But so when you talk to these Republicans, they're still so excited. 1,300 days left to go in Trump, but the imperial presidency, redefining all kinds of things. It's amazing. I don't understand what this is going to mean for the future of the Democratic Party I did get from an inside source that Andy Beshear is most likely going to be announcing soon to run for the presidency of the United States, the governor of Kentucky. I think he could be a formidable opponent. And that's my take. A lot going on. If there was any word to describe Trump, I would say imperial, disruption, competence. And we shouldn't be surprised. He's delivering everything that he said. And the final elephant in the room is immigration. The International Trade Court did uphold, they struck down the tariffs. Now the courts brought it back. But immigration, what are we going to do with all these immigrants that are here? Trump wants to send them back. He wants to send them back quickly. And ICE is coming in even in North Carolina. So that's another conversation. Birthright citizenship. You know, they want to bring that in, Mark. So I could be here a real long time. But that's the state of the world from the Washington, D.C. right here. And looking forward to being back.
Sounds good. Well, we're going to end this quick report on world politics from Steve Rao and all along those lines. So we did a quick report. We got the lawyers in other programs as well. But another great report, and hopefully we'll see you giving a.
What time is Lawyers Den?
Tomorrow. Yeah, the Lawyers Den. It's like a 15, 20-minute show that Peter Bennett is doing. That's at 6 o'clock, and then he follows that with Wall Street Hacker. So that'll be Tuesday. So he'll be doing that at 6 o'clock. I think it's just Peter and Adam may be on that, but I'll see.
I'll come on next week for that because I'm running late. So I'll just come on next week for that.
Sounds good.
What's the topic today for Lawyers Den?
I'm not sure what the topic is. I know that it might be Doge or some of the other things in that category, but I know definitely Nick puts together those categories and all along those lines. So I've got to get there and figure out what the topic is myself.
Email me the link. I may join in.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow.
No problem. On that note, we'll get out of here. We'll see Steve on tomorrow. So this was a brief report on world politics, but right now, let's get on out of here.